So, hello everyone. Uh, I, Kushal Kasrolkar, I am pursuing my master's in cardiovascular and respiratory physiotherapy from Sancheti Institute College of Physiotherapy. And the topic for discussion today is respiratory muscle training in mechanically ventilated patients. So, today we have on board Dr. Madhura Patil. She is a clinical physiotherapist at Physiotherapy School and Center, Nair TNMC, and DYL Nair Charitable Hospital. So she has done her master's in cardiovascular and respiratory physiotherapy. She is also an awardee of ICCPR Cardiac Rehabilitation Scholarship by Solved CHD Australia. She had 8 publications in her name. She has also contributed as an author for a handbook that is Implementing Pulmonary Rehabilitation, a practical guide for physiotherapists and healthcare professionals. She has also won several first prize awards and paper presentation at national and international conferences. So over to you, ma'am.
Today we are going to talk about respiratory muscle training in mechanically ventilated patient. So what is respiratory muscle training? It is training of your inspiratory and expiratory muscle. So we have selected this topic that training in an intubated patient. It is easy to train respiratory muscle training in OPD basis, patients like COPD, ILD who are coming in OPD basis. But in ICU, it is difficult because patients are critically ill. We need to deal with the ICU environment and ventilators and the devices which are used for respiratory muscle training. So for respiratory muscle training, we are going to focus on inspiratory muscle training and expiratory muscle training. I am going to talk about devices, what is inclusion criteria, how to decide which patient to train, and we are going to talk about the uses, contraindications for respiratory muscle training.
Okay, ma'am. So why is respiratory muscle training important in mechanically ventilated patients?
So, why inspiratory and expiratory training in intubated patients? Because as soon as the patient comes on mechanical ventilator, there are studies which says that within 18 to 24 hours, diaphragm muscle dysfunction happens. So, what happens because of the control ventilation, your diaphragm muscle protein degradation starts, and because of protein loss, you have your muscle loss. There is muscle loss in your diaphragm. As the muscle loss is starts, your diaphragm dysfunction starts. So what happens because of this, your muscle become weak, and because of weakness, the main issue is weaning. So there is difficulty in weaning, and as soon as the difficulty in weaning comes in, your main problem is the risk of mortality. So the main your point is that we are training diaphragm because patient is completely on the support of ventilator. So to prevent muscle atrophy of diaphragm because of the disuse, we start training patients on RMT, that is respiratory muscle training.
So when exactly should RMT be initiated in these patients?
So there are like not all patients we can start on respiratory muscle training. There are some criteria, there are some guidelines which says that. So there are some criteria to start respiratory muscle training. So first thing is there are some ventilator criteria, there are some vital criteria, and there are criteria by the patient. So we will talk about what criteria to see on a ventilator. So what to see if your patient should take spontaneous breaths. Your patient should be on, mostly we start the patient training when the patient comes on SIMV mode, that is synchronized intermittent mandatory ventilation. So what to do here when your patient comes on SIMV mode, your FiO2 should be less than 50%. Your patient should trigger the breath. So these are the ventilator criteria which you have to see. Now we'll come on the hemodynamical stability. So what here, your RR should be less than 20. Your saturation should be maintained between 95 to 100, and your RR and your heart rate should be in the normal range. So this is hemodynamic stability what we want. And now we'll come on the patient criteria. So what will be patient criteria? When your patient should be conscious, he should be oriented, he should follow your commands. So which is mainly important because patient has to breathe through that device. So these are patient criteria what we have to see. So we see these three criteria whenever we are starting respiratory muscle training. Now other outcome measures also we can see that when to start respiratory muscle training. So we am going to talk about two outcome measures. One will be MIP and MEP. So what is MIP and MEP? MIP is your maximum inspiratory pressure, which will tell strength of your inspiratory muscles. MEP is your maximum expiratory pressure, which will tell you the strength of your expiratory muscle. Now how to assess? So for assessing MIP and MEP, you have a device called respiratory pressure meter. So this device you have to connect to your mechanically ventilated patient and you have to take the readings for MIP and MEP. Your second option is on a ventilator itself, but not all ventilators have that setting. So there are some ventilators like Hamilton or Vela which have their inbuilt system to assess MIP. So on that basis, you can assess your MIP values. Now the second outcome measure that is assessment, what I am going to talk is your diaphragm excursion. So how will you assess diaphragm excursion is on your via ultrasound. So you have to use M mode, that is motion mode. You have to see the diaphragm excursion in such patients. So there are studies which show that your diaphragm excursion is reduced once your patient comes on mechanical ventilation. So what is normal diaphragm excursion? It is from 3 centimeter to 5 centimeter. But when there are studies which says that when patient comes on mechanical ventilator, your diaphragm excursion reduced to 1.5 centimeter. That is 15 mm. So that is the criteria when you have to start your respiratory muscle training.
Okay. So, ma'am, what are the common techniques or methods used for respiratory muscle training in ICU patients?
Okay, so when talking about the mechanically ventilated patients, you have patients who are on a NIV or patients who are intubated. So NIV, it's easy. You can transfer the patient on bag and mask or on nasal prong and you can give the training with the multidisciplinary team. Your multidisciplinary team plays an important role because you have to be on same page. You have to know what has been delivered to the patient and you have to know each and every background of the patient. So your teamwork is very important. For the patients who are intubated, so either they will be on endotracheal tube, ET tube, or they will be tracheostomy, on tracheostomy. So while training, you need what we do at our institute, that we have a closed suction unit or closed suction catheter. That is the only connection which connects your IMT devices. Now what are these devices? For respiratory muscle training, again you can train patients via two methods. So one method are the devices. So what are the devices? Are your IMT, EMT, IMT and EMT together, which is called as big breathe. So there are devices which I am going to list. First is your IMT threshold, which is by Philips. So that is a IMT trainer which has your only inspiratory muscle train. The second device is big breathe. Big breathe gives you both IMT as well as EMT. So it's a dual device. Watch what we use usually because we can train both inspiratory as well as expiratory muscles. The third device is your power breathe. So power breathe also, it's an inspiratory device, but it has the lower values. Because why it is used? Because we use in the early phase because your MIP is very less to start the training. So you need the lower ranges of pressures to be given to the patient. So these are the different devices what we use for training. Your second method is on ventilator itself. But yes, before starting this technique, you should be aware about and you should be proper training of ventilator handling. So this along with the multidisciplinary, along with the other doctors, medicine, intensivist, you should be in a proper touch to know how to go about of this ventilator training. So what we do in this ventilator training if your devices are not available. So what is exactly how you do? Again, the criteria is same. They just adjust your, they will just reduce your pressure support because once This you can do only when patient is taking spontaneous breaths. Huh? So once the pressure support is less, your patient has to generate more negative intrathoracic pressure, which automatically gives overload to your diaphragm muscle or your inspiratory muscle. So this is the second technique what we do. But we most of in ICU patients we prefer the first one, that is with the help of your devices. So this we know now that we have different techniques to give training. So now once you know that we are going with the devices, now how to go about. So I previously said that we do measurements before training, as we're training your muscles also, upper limb, lower limb muscle. You know what is 1 RM for training. So here also you should have some values to train the muscle. So that values are MIP, MEP, which we know that how to assess. So once you have your MIP and MEP, there is guidelines of respiratory training by ACSM what we follow. So which says that once you have your MIP value, you start with 30% of that MIP value. So you set the device on 30%. For example, my MIP was 9. So that 30% for 30% for me will be 3. So you start with the 3 value and start training the patient. So now how you are going to train? Again, ACSM gives a fit principle. Like you have to, your intensity should be 30%. Training, your patient should take breaths for 6 breaths and 5 sets. So you have to give 6 breaths of 5 sets. After 6 breaths, give a rest pause. Again 6, like that you have to do for 5 sets twice a day. So that means overall in one day you should complete 60 breaths or 30 breaths, 2 sets, that is 60 breaths. And this you have to do every day, or ACSM says mostly 5 to 6 days per week. So this training you have to give. So we follow ACSM fit principle for respiratory muscle training. So this is how you have to train your respiratory muscle for strengthening.
Okay. So, ma'am, what are the benefits of respiratory muscle training in these patients?
Okay. So previously I already said that why we do this, because muscle respiratory, that is your diaphragm, goes into weakness or atrophy. So to prevent that, we are starting respiratory muscle training. So it will prevent your protein degradation or proteolysis, and it will prevent weakness of your diaphragm. So this weakness of your diaphragm will, what it cause, that it delayed your weaning. So your first thing, that will, your weaning will be earlier, and as your weaning is earlier, it is very beneficial for everyone, because once the patient is out of ventilator, you can train more easily. So first is weaning is easier. Once weaning is easier, ICU stay reduces. Your ICU stay become less. Your complications like pneumonia, or ventilator associated pneumonia or atelectasis decreases. And here the main point I'm going to highlight, as we go for rehabilitation in ICU. Most of the time what we have seen that along with muscular fatigue, we have seen respiratory fatigue. We have to make the patient from supine to sit. So patient, of course, along with musculoskeletal, that muscle weakness or muscle fatigue, main problem is your respiratory fatigue too. So with this IMT and respiratory training, IMT devices, we are tackling that respiratory fatigue, so our further management become easier. So what we have done at our institute, maximally most of the GBS patients, for I'm giving one of the example, where earlier how we used to treat, they used to get fatigue very easily. But now when we have done so many patients and we have started early training on ventilator, we see the recovery is very fast. A recovery, as if the patient is less complaining about respiratory fatigue, and they are willing to do more exercises which are recovered for recovery. So these are the uses, and even the diaphragm, what we have seen on the ultrasound, what we see excursion, with respiratory training, your diaphragm excursion also improves. So as the diaphragm excursion will improve, your weakness also will come down, and your capacity, your functional capacity will increase to do other exercises.
Okay. So what precautions should be taken while performing
Okay.
respiratory muscle training?
So I will tell you how we do it. So I have already spoken about the criteria. So now we have to start a patient on training. So you have a device, you have a closed suction unit. So patient is on ventilator, your ET tube is there, or imagine a tracheostomy is there. So here you have to disconnect. So first pre-oxygenate the patient, then disconnect the ventilator, connect the closed suction unit, and ask the patient to take 6 breaths. Your feedback is very important because you are motivating the patient to breathe. It's not easy when you disconnect. Okay, so you have to say that please take inhale, exhale. So you have to do that and you have to push the patient to breathe. So 6 breaths, as the 6 breaths are done, it hardly takes 10 to 20 seconds. So you have to disconnect your closed suction unit and connect the ventilator. So the disconnection should be less what we follow for our suctioning. That is what we follow is 15 seconds. You have to not more than 15 seconds for what we do, how we disconnect for suctioning. It is as same as that, but here you are asking the patient to breathe through that device. Okay, so this is how we do the repetition. So once the one cycle is done, 6 breaths, again connect, let the patient take rest, because again respiratory fatigue can come in. Patients are dependent on ventilators, so we are disconnecting. Patients become hyper, so you have to first, counseling is very important, what you expect from patient. So you have to build the confidence of the patient to perform this exercise, because your patient might get panic. What you are doing, you are disconnecting the ventilator. You have that fear, patient has that fear. So your rapport with the patient is very important when you are doing this exercise. Second thing, you have to take care of the hygiene of the device. Closed suction unit, don't use multiple closed suction to a single patient, for multiple patients. Single suction units for multiple patients. It has to be patient specific. The device has to be sterilized properly after the use. So this you have to follow, and when you are doing so make sure that you are performing this exercise after suctioning, because many a times when you don't suction the patient while doing exercise, you can see a lot of secretion coming. So be careful, you have to do suction first, wait for 5 minutes, and then start the training. While training, when you feel that if patient's RR is increasing or heart rate is increasing, so you have to be very careful. If it goes on, then you have to stop the training, and you have to notice all the vital monitors and also your ventilator, how patient is reacting, because you can see patient can go into fatigue and suddenly the spontaneous breaths, there are no spontaneous breaths and patient is completely dependent on your ventilator. So you have to be alert whenever you are training respiratory muscle for the intubated patients.
Okay, so we have mostly covered everything. So I just like to say ki we can. I hope we should implement this in everyday practice, and this therapy is really very beneficial for the patients which are mechanically ventilated and admitted in the ICU. So thank you so much, ma'am, for your expert guidance, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you.